Hear the hits, watch the hits, hit music all day.
Like this. We play the hits.
All about the hits. All about the hits. All about the hits. All about the hits. We are Radio 44.
Well, we all know what business leadership is all about. We all know how important it is to us. And today we do have a leader, a visionary. We do have Vimal Shah right here, the chairman of Bidco Africa, on the SuperBrands Leadership Legends, episode 5. Keep it right here on Radio 44. Trust me, we're going to have a very interesting conversation that's going to inspire you and teach you a lot in business right after this.
Morning. Thank you very much for joining us here at Radio 44.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. So, you know what? I think you are what a lot of us would consider the epitome of success. And you've definitely had a long road. So let's go straight into it. How do you define success? And has that definition changed over time?
Well, I think success is very simple. It's doing what you love and loving what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, you never have to work, right? It's always fun. Therefore, you want to work or you wish to work. It's not a have to.
Right.
To me, that's success. And of course, it changes over time. As you're young, you've got goals and say, I want to go and do this and do that. And when I was 20, it was different. And it changes all the time. But I think at the company,
yes,
success would mean groundbreaking innovation, delivering top-tier products, and I think uplifting the communities we touch.
Okay.
And I call it MAD. Making a difference.
Okay, lovely. Now, you did mention that when you started off at the age of 20, you had an entirely different definition of success. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, it was scaling. You know, my father wanted to do agribusiness and said, fine, we will start looking at that. And at university at 18, age of 18, so started looking where to expand the clothing business.
Right.
And I think the full value chain was what was interesting and exciting. That was a goal. And we're on that goal still. But it's not the one that excites me now.
And what exactly excites you fully right now?
I think it's making a difference to everything we touch, whether it's people, whether it's processes, whether it's whatever. And I think ultimately it's a journey. It's not an event. So being a journey, I think it's empowering incredible teams, and also embodying the values and the way you do it. So what excites me now is the way we do it is with the right ethos and with a clear code of ethics.
And speaking of ethos, Bidco was started by your father, I believe, in 1985. And whenever now, when people talk about Bidco, they think of Vimal Shah. But what is the ethos behind Bidco Africa's success?
So my brother Tarun and myself and my father, all three of us together, started Bidco Oil and Bidco Africa. But Bidco Clothing Factory, my father started it up in 1970. So that was the ethos. But I think the ethos is clear. It's happy, healthy living. So if I ask you, each one of you, what's your purpose in life? It's to be happy, to be healthy, and to be living. If that's not your purpose, what is? So that's the ethos that drives us. It's why we produce, why we exist, why we even do everything we do every day. It's enhancing happy, healthy living across Africa. So all across our products, our services, our goods and everything else that we do to the consumers, as to the suppliers and the ecosystem, needs to enhance happy, healthy living. And that's something that we've kept on. And I think it's embracing that culture of continuous improvement. So we believe that that's what everybody strives to, and our people live these values every day, and I'm thankful for them.
Excellent. So you understood what human beings need, and you picked that, and you're basically targeting towards that.
Absolutely. Aligning ourselves to our passion and also to what our purpose is important. That's the ethos, so that whatever we touch needs to make sure that it's doing that. And I think it just helps us to adapt, to guide us, and to shine.
Okay, perfect. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the common myths about leadership and some personal values that actually influence Mr. Vimal Shah's decision making. Don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on Radio 44.
Hear the hits. Watch the hits.
We play the hits.
Hit music all day.
Like this.
I am what I say, yes, I go.
Your number one hit music station.
We are Radio 44. Your music, your life.
Good morning. This is Radio 44, The Morning Mojo with Hermina and Jeet. And in the studio with us is Mr. Vimal Shah. If you're just joining us, we've been having a conversation, an inspiring conversation with the chairman of Bidco Africa. We've been talking about success, the ethos behind Bidco, and we'll jump straight back into the conversation with Mr. Shah. So what's one common myth about leadership that you think needs to be debunked?
The myth probably is that leaders have to have all the answers, right? The truth is, great leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about inspiring collaboration, valuing diverse perspectives, also making thoughtful decisions on the spot. And I think it's about being open, adaptable, and learning together. This is what drives people forward.
So, considering you have particular beliefs and everything, yeah? Some values that have influenced you in your life, in your business. How do your personal values actually influence your decision making as a leader?
I think always it does, because we are what we believe in. Values like integrity, empathy, compassion, accountability are sort of guiding stars. But I think they help craft a workplace that is built on trust and respect. And trust is most important, right? Trust is four things. At the bottom, it's integrity, it's intent, competency, and results. If any of them is zero, you will actually lose a lot of trust. And that's quite crucial. I think these principles are reflected in our daily activities. So if you uphold your core values, it's not that they're written on the wall and say, I got to check the values, they're up there. You've got to live them. And then once you live them, you lead by example. So I think those values that would be in my father, myself, and the whole, my brother and everyone, we live that, and therefore it proliferates down the line to everyone.
So were these values instilled in you by the family, or did you learn these on the go?
I think we call them, in Hindi, we call them sanskar, right? Those are your sanskars that are given to you from your ecosystem. Of course, parents, obviously. But at the same time, your ecosystem which you're brought in, with your education, what you learn. And I think all over your ecosystem teaches you those values, and you live by them. A lot of people deviate from them. These, in my opinion, are non-negotiable.
Okay.
Would you be able to give us a few examples of these values and how they've translated into the running and operations of Bidco?
Always. I think these principles do affect you. And when you come to a fork on the road and you've got a problem and you want to solve it, there's an easy way out is, let's just give something here or get something there and corrupt somebody and get that done. And that's when your values come in and say, hang on, no, because your conscience bites you and say, fine, I don't want to do that. And that's the time when you say, fine, this is what is important. And there, you actually take the long route out. So I think that was taught to me by my father, and I think overall it's stuck to it with us. Fight for your rights and go and argue for it. The problem is it's a longer way. It takes time because you got to advocate, you got to argue, you got to fight your way out. And the speed money that people give as corruption these days is like, okay, solve it quickly. I gave something somewhere. The main important thing is that's when your values count.
Now, I love the way you call it speed money.
Yeah.
So here's my question. A lot of people think, and they do say, and I somewhat believe this, time is definitely money. So when we sort of lose all that time and we lose opportunities that we could have pursued because we've lost that time handling whatever we are handling, do you still think it's worth it?
I think so. I'll tell you why. You could say selfishly, time is money for me.
Yes.
But imagine what you're doing to all the other people who are going to get affected in the similar manner. You are actually getting them affected because the person who's the giver or the taker is going to say, okay, fine, if I just strangle a few people here and there, they will come up and cough up a lot of money. So I think that's important. So you actually may not save time for yourself, but in the end, you're actually helping everyone else. Comes from the ethos of making a difference.
Yes.
Just one final question for this segment. So maybe you can explore and explain a little bit more about the sustainability initiatives that Bidco undertakes.
So I think sustainability is, the definition first of all is important. It's about people, it's about planet and profits. Some people define it only as planet, and that's all it is. It's environment only. And I think the same thing goes for ESG these days, right? Environment, social, and governance. Governance is a given. It's got to be there. You've got to make sure you do the right thing. You got everything accountable. You got all your systems and processes in place. But at the same time, environment, impact. What's your carbon footprint? What are you doing to the environment? Are you harming it? And also your social impact. Am I affecting people? So I think it's important. So at Bidco, we make sure, first and foremost, starts with our people. Giving them gainful employment, right? Today, with about 6,000 people across East Africa, we need to make sure that they're in gainful employment, not just cutting down and bringing it out. Giving employment today itself is a sustainable value, because that's missing today. People are cutting it off. Number one. Number two, happy, healthy living, right? Because that's where you got to make sure your products, your services, and your people are happy. If they're happier, they're going to make your consumers happy. Sustainability means right now, look, we don't burn any hydrocarbons, fuel oil or whatever. So our carbon footprint is low. We got biomass and agro waste and all that stuff we use. Again, we recycle all our water. All our products are recyclable in plastics or whatever. And therefore, plastics is not a bad product anyway. But it's just, it can be recycled 10 more times. Yes. And it's more sustainable. So a lot of sustainable practices come from the way we do things, including our entire palm oil value chain. We've got farms, we have palm oil plantations where everything is utilized, including the leaves, the fronds, everything, fresh fruit bunches. In our processes here, we use 100% of everything. Zero wastage, nothing going as effluent, nothing going out as a waste into the environment. So in that manner, we make sure that our footprint is not harming the environment. Number one. Number two, anything we do in the future now, we will not touch any animal products, we will not touch any alcohol, and we will also not touch any cigarettes. These things don't enhance happy, healthy living. So these values, this ethos, builds into all our sustainable practices.
Excellent. We'll be back right after this track, and of course we're going to be taking a look at some of the most significant risks that Mr. Shah has taken, and of course some of the challenges in our current political landscape. Don't go anywhere. Well, it is episode 5 of the SuperBrands Leadership Legend, and we do have the legend himself over here, Vimal Shah, chairman of Bidco Africa. Now, we've been talking about everything, but I think one of the most important things when it comes to leadership is risk. So what is the most significant risk you've ever taken in your career, and what did you learn from it?
Brilliant question. I think it was being a contrarian. It was expanding Bidco during economics uncertainty. And it was a bold leap at times when it taught us the power of strategic vision, resilience, and the strength of a united team. We went into Tanzania once where things were not very, very rosy. And we took 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we took the leap getting in there, and we suffered a lot for a lot of years.
Okay.
We're still there. The point is, that risk taught us that there will be ups and downs, and therefore you got to look at it differently. We made a move to Madagascar and started up a whole thing there. And then before starting, there was a issue with government coming out and saying, you need to pay us. And we said, what for? Because we have a code of ethics. We can't. And we shut it all down. So we left, and we left it alone. Even here, we started a computer company and started up everything done. And these guys come and tell us, if you want to win a tender, you've got to put money for people on the side. I said, forget it. From day one, zero, we said, shut down.
Excellent. So, would it be right if I say you are one of the people who has no regrets because you look at whatever has happened as lessons for the future?
There can't be regrets because we can't change yesterday. We can't change this morning, what's happened till now. We can only steer ourselves of where we're going from tomorrow. And I think that's important. So no regrets, no shame, no guilt. And I think having a clear conscience helps a lot.
Absolutely.
Now, what are the biggest challenges facing business leaders in today's political landscape?
Good question. I think leaders today face battles with regulatory shifts, every now and then new regulations, political turbulence, and global economic changes like your supply chains, COVID. We've had all those. I think those challenges do face all of us. In the process, I think it's not difficult to manage them. It's like we're in a VUCA world, right? There's volatility, there's uncertainty, there's complexity, and there's ambiguity. It's a given. So you can't say, oh, it's all got to go away. I want certainty. I want everything to be known. There's no crystal ball there, so you can't know that, number one. Number two, I think important thing is that being informed, being adaptable, being responsive to your customers' needs, being available to say, fine, I can change, I'll be agile, and being proactive in tackling new challenges. The way I look at it with the lenses is every challenge has an opportunity in it. Look for the opportunity. What do we see in that? And I think being able to navigate these complexities with skill and perseverance is something that's a cornerstone of our company's success and our employees, all of them. It's important to make sure that you don't get downtrodden to say, fine, I had a problem, we've got this. Today, we've got laws that are coming in that are taxing all of us, right? You saw the finance bill. I think there'll be a ruling today. It got thrown out. And we need to speak about it. We need to talk about it and really come together. So it'll probably be collaboration too.
Okay. Now, how do you actually see, considering how, we've seen a lot of turmoil, we've seen a lot of events happening in the last 2 years. How do you see the relationship between government policy and business growth evolving in Kenya right now?
Interesting question. I think the relationship needs to be far more collaborative. I believe that business people, I've been in various associations and bringing people together, collaborative. It's got to be collaborative. It's got to drive very clear distinction in terms of policy making. We've got to be able to speak truth to power. We've also got to make sure that we make them understand. If you look at the economic manifestos of the parties that have come into power today, the manifestos are all aligned. And we did, as private sector, did have a manifesto sent out to them, and they're aligned with that. So the manifesto is aligned, the speeches are aligned, everything else that we talk about today in government policy is aligned. What's not congruent is the actions are different. And the actions are showing up as, the MPs and all these guys putting in different laws. Siloed mentality where different laws are coming out from everywhere. There's a tax on this, tax on that, and they're all trying to get more money. Let's go and argue for value add. What are we getting as value add? And this is where collaborative approach from business people, associations, whatever, interest groups coming together and saying, fine, let's do this. And we can actually propel the national goals because clearly Vision 2030 is something there. BITA, right? The bottom-up economic transformation is there. The Big Four is still there. They have not been denounced or pronounced that, look, we're not aligned with that. So really, let's just align with that and say, fine, how do we make it better?
Excellent.
We will be back. This interview normally should be about an hour long, but this conversation is so inspiring. We're learning so much from you. We want to continue for another half an hour or so till about 9:30. So we will be back in about 15 minutes in conversation with Mr. Vimal Shah, Chairman of Bidco Africa. Stay tuned to Radio 44.
Well, the conversation is still ongoing with Vimal Shah, the chairman of Bidco Africa, and of course this SuperBrands Leadership Legends episode 5. We are still going to have more conversations about some advice, and of course we also do have a quickfire round that I'm super excited about. So don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on Radio 44. Right now, dropping you this one by Atif Aslam and Chinmay Sripada. All right, we are over here with Vimal Shah on the SuperBrands Leadership Legends episode 5. Now, of course, I think all of us sort of shy away from difficult conversations, but there are some conversations that should take place. And I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm going to ask you a question that's probably on everyone's mind. Being the 44th tribe, being Kenyan Asian, a lot of people find it sort of difficult to navigate through business and everything. As we spoke about a while back, you know, the speed money, the bribes, the perception of a lot of people thinking, well, these are people we can muscle in on and get money out of. Do you think this harsh reality is indeed true, and what do you think is the cause for it, and how can we eradicate it?
I think first and foremost, calling ourselves a tribe and saying we're now this tribe and differentiating ourselves is a form of discrimination, right? Mm-hmm. Based on tribe or religion or color, caste, creed, or male, female, it's all discrimination. And I think we're all one. As far as I'm concerned, I'm Kenyan Asian. I'm a Kenyan, number one, and that's first. Secondly, I'm from Asian origin. In the same way as we've got Nilo-Hamitics, we've got Bantus, everybody from Kikuyu, Maasai, everybody's from somewhere, right? And they came over here a few, 300-400 years ago from different places in Africa. Yeah. And therefore, our forefathers came here as Asians from the continent of Asia or from India. And then they settled here 120 years ago. So if you look at the Oxford Dictionary for definition of indigenous, it means son of soil. Son of soil means what? 300 years, 100 years, 120 years? So we've got the right to say I'm indigenous African too. And that's what I say. Kenyan of Asian origin, that's what I am. So at the same time, I think a lot of people like to be discriminated or have a victim feeling inside them that, oh, you know, we're minorities. So we've got 44 tribes in Kenya. Out of that, 8 of the tribes are big in numbers, volumes, right? The rest can all say, oh, we're victims, we're small, we're not big enough. And out of that, Asians come in the number, right? Yeah. So you can actually discriminate along that. I believe that we've all got to stay here as my Kenya, right? And it's not about haki yetu, it's about wajibu wetu, which means what's my responsibility to Kenya? And therefore, I am Kenyan first, come what may. And then, yes, when we go drill down in it, yes, Asian origin, nothing wrong with that. However, some forms of our own people, I think not only Asian but also African, everybody is responsible for making sure we do not pay bribes, number one. Number two, when we are forced into a situation, fight for it, right? And you must be able to stand it. And I think together, if we stand together, we can stand in a big way. The code of ethics, I mean, I can tell you, our company has a code of ethics, yes, right? And it's published, it's downloaded online. Very clearly stipulates there's no discrimination, number one. And I think the minute we do that here as Kenyans to say, fine, let's stop doing the divide and rule. Actually, the British used this in order to rule the whole of the world, right? A small country like Britain ruled the whole world based on the divide and rule principle. Divide the local people. In India, they went and divided the Hindus and the Muslims, and they ruled over them, right? Over here, they're doing the same thing. We have learned, so 61 years of independence, but in 61 years, we've adopted their same style. And therefore, we're now dividing and ruling our country in Kenya too, right? One country, 47 counties. Look at the 47 counties. We've become Majimbo in a way where each tribe, I mean, if you talk about Kisumu will never have a governor who is from the Kikuyu tribe.
Yes.
In Kiambu, where I come from, in Nyeri is where I was born, But I think in that place, you will never have a Luo becoming the governor. Why? Because we've gone tribal into our own conclaves, and we've got to remove that. When we talk about African continental free trade area, we're opening up the whole of Africa. 54 countries, we want to make sure we trade with everyone together. And in 47, we're going into cocoons. This is something that should stop. And I think first and foremost in ourselves, if we all believe, and I'm talking now to the Asian community, to say if we all believe that I'm Kenyan first, and therefore I stand as a Kenyan, see everybody as another soul. That's what my spirit is. Everybody's another soul, and therefore there's no problem. I'm more positive in blood group, right? I can donate to anyone. Doesn't mean any color, caste, or creed. If I do blood donation, this blood can be put into anyone, and therefore we're all one. We've just used this whole thing in order to rule, in order to misrule, or in order to get power. And I think it's a cosmetic power. It's not real power.
So about 2 months ago, we did have a conversation with some young Kenyan Asians about whether the Asian community in Kenya is living in a bubble. And the consensus was, yes, we are. Most of us are. So what would your message be to the young Kenyan Asians to integrate? What's your message to them?
I don't think we're living in a bubble. I think if we make ourselves live in a bubble, a cosmetic one, to say, fine, I'm isolated, it's the same way that happens in, I have a lot of Kikuyu friends, I have a lot of Luo friends, I have a lot of Maasai friends. You know, I'm a chancellor of a university in Maasai land. I'm just saying, when we look at everybody, they're in their communities, they have the same cocoon or the same one bubble to say, fine, we need to get together with our own people. I think our people should look at, say, let's embrace challenges, number one. Number two, integrate with people here. Build strong networks with everyone across the region, not only within the local community. Lead with empathy, right? And I think important thing is to say, stay true to your values. If your values are, you know, we can be resilient, we can be adaptable to any culture. Because ultimately, that's my belief, right? I'm a soul on planet Earth. I'm in this body and I have a mind. That's a conditioned mind. Let's recondition all our minds to say, let's think globally. Let's look at Kenya as a big way. Now, when Kenyan diaspora goes overseas, whether it's Kikuyu, Luo, or Asian or whatever, when they go there and say, I'm from Kenya, they come together. I've seen that happening even in New York.
Yes.
And wherever they go, they're just Kenyans first. It's not about the tribe. Why not here? And I just think that this bubble needs to be burst, if there is one. If they're living in an isolation that I'm different, no, we're not different. We're the same. The aspirations are the same. Today, if you look at business, there's a lot of people in the similar businesses and now competing with everybody else. So that's not going to go away. And I think the strength of people is in their teams, dedication to shared values. We may have shared values, and that comes back to cultural. But really, I mean, recently I had experience with the Ma community, the Maasai community, and the values are similar. The Kikuyu community, same values as all the Asians have. Why are we living in this bubble? I just think that we've got to break that and say, fine, integrate. Talk to people, understand. So intercultural understanding is something that I would prefer that everybody gets into. Let's understand them because they have the same aspirations.
You know, just expanding on this slightly, I'm sure we've come across, you know, certain individuals who treat their Kenyan staff a little poorly. You know, they don't treat them with respect. They don't talk to them the right way. Do you think this has also sort of created this sort of a divide among all of us?
I would say treat every person, not just local this or that. Treat every person in a way that is respectful and really in a good way. Because this same, I think it's not here in Kenya. This comes from India, or this comes from Asia, where you had this caste system whereby the Brahmin was supposed to be at the top and the guys who were untouchables were at the bottom, and untouchables were desecrated into various things. We've got to get out of that mode, right? Here, we're all equals. And I think that's important to say, let's undo that and really treat every single soul as a human being. When we do namaste in this manner, it's me and soul bowing down to you in soul and look at them with respect. I can tell you one thing. People here are amazing.
Yes.
Our human capital in Kenya, we're operating in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. I'd say human capital in Kenya is amazing. People are very good. Go to South Africa and you see the difference. So I'm just saying that we got to value that and really change our own methods, change our ways of looking at people and say, fine, here. It's not about higher or lower class. If you see it in Europe or anywhere else, a lot of the maids are from Philippines. They call them Filipino maids, right?
Yeah.
They've specialized in that business. So the same thing in other places, we still respect them. Why not here? So let's change.
Okay, excellent. We're taking a short break and we will be back right after this. It's been a while since I've heard that track, and we are still over here with Vimal Shah on, of course, episode 5 of the SuperBrands Leadership Legends. We're still having a conversation. Now, we've been having this conversation off air where you have been inspiring people. So what advice would you give to young leaders right now entering, this business or any sort of organization right now, starting something up?
I think to all aspiring leaders, competition and competitive markets are here to stay, number one. And therefore, embrace challenges. Look at the opportunity in the challenge. Stay curious, find out what to do, how to do it, and find better ways. And actually keep learning. I use this as it's lifelong learning. You never stop learning. A lot of the young people feel, university is over, that's it.
Yeah.
No more learning. And they think that they know it all. In our language, we say MBA is money but to So they really think that they know everything. So build strong networks. Lead with empathy rather than saying, I am this, I'm that. And stay true to your values. I think that's quite crucial. But ultimately also, I think resilience and adaptability amongst our kids is far better, not kids, okay, young people, youth, is important. And really thriving in competitive markets, because it's never going to become what it was 50, 70, 100 years ago, where it was not competitive and it was like you had asymmetry, in terms of things. Now, your digital device tells you everything.
Yeah.
So the power has moved from the seller to the buyer. And the buyer now is so much more empowered with price, quality, quantity, name it, and they know exactly what they want. So it's again teams. A lot of our youth, I would advise, is they try to work alone and say, I'm going to do it alone and, make it alone. No, work in teams and dedicate yourself to your shared values, because that's going to be important. Whenever they're at a fork where they've got to decide this way or that way, a lot of times want instant gratification.
Yes.
I think we've got to move away from that and say, fine, here's a longer term thing. That's better. And in that manner, I think all our youth, amazing. Look, they live in the best of times today. What don't you have? Your Encyclopedia Britannica, which we had big walls of. Now it's on a device. It's there. What information are you lacking? Now with ChatGPT and Copilot and all AI, you know everything. The question is the difference between knowing and doing. And doing is what you require right now here, because action on the ground.
We've been having this conversation off air as well. You touched on it a little bit on air. So I wanted to ask you, are you a religious or a spiritual person?
So it goes back to definitions, right? My definition of religion is the business of religion, right? Where it's an ISO standard, right? Standard of quality, standard of this. And each religion has made itself a standard, different standards. So if it's Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, all of the isms are all standards. That's my belief. So I believe I'm a spirit, right? And I'm spiritual. And I'm agreeing with Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. I agree with all of them at the core. Because at the core, they're all talking about the same thing. They talk about your soul, your love, you're part of God, and God is within you, right? Every one of them I've met, most of them, and they'll tell you it's the same. There's no difference there. But then the religions goes back to practices and say, fine, this is how we worship, this is how we worship. No right or wrong. They're all right in their own ways. But I am, to answer your question directly, I'd be spiritual, and I think I'm a free spirit, and I think we're all spirits, all people on planet Earth, even animals are the same spirit, except we've got certain abilities that animals don't have.
So if I were to ask you, what are some words you live by, or what is your philosophy, what would it be?
We're all one, number one. Number two, I think at the end of it all, we have a conditioned mind. And conditioning the mind is important. In my opinion, this is the body. So I shouldn't look at body and say, this is me, or that's him, or that's her. I am a soul, and therefore I'm energy, but that soul is energy, right? It doesn't have the mind. The mind, the beauty is, this is my mantra, is the mind can be conditioned. It can be reconditioned, and we can change it. And therefore, lifelong learning helps to condition the mind. That's all we're doing. And therefore, if you tune your mind towards happy, healthy living, that's what we live by. If your purpose is there, it's happy, healthy living. Every mind wants to do that. The question is, our definitions differ. So, happy, healthy living, and also being mad is what I live by every day.
Yes.
MAD means making a difference. Normal people just follow the line. It's the wildebeest migration. The guys who lead get through from the river and go out there. Yes, some of them become lunch for the crocodiles, but at the same time, everybody else in this herd instinct is just following. It's a Me Too culture, and I don't want to be Me Too.
Good. All right. Now, let's talk about being a super brand. Now, how important is being recognized as a super brand to Bidco Africa, and how has being a super brand impacted your company's growth and the reputation in the market?
I think being a super brand has been a huge honor for all our people at Bidco, right? All our people are sort of, it validates our excellence, it distinguishes us in the market, right? But I think this recognition has boosted our brand reputation, attracted top talent, and also strengthened customer trust. It also fueled our growth and success. So I think this whole achievement is a direct result of our team's hard work, passion, and commitment to living our values every day. And they are true ambassadors of the brand. So I think this brand is more of an endorsement to say, fine, you are a super brand. I think everybody can be a super brand if they aspire towards it. So it's inspirational in a way.
Excellent. Now, we do have something interesting coming your way. And I think you'd actually ace through it.
It's our quickfire round.
I don't know what's coming. Let's see.
All right, keep it right here. We're taking a very short break, and we'll be back with the quickfire round. We still have Vimal Shah over here in the studio with us, and we're about to go into our quickfire round, the one that we usually have. But you know what? Can I switch up the mood a bit? Are you ready for that?
Sure.
There. Let's change the music a bit. Are you ready? Do you want to start, or?
Sure. Describe your leadership style in one word.
Inspirational.
What's your favorite way to celebrate success?
Do more.
What is your mantra for success?
It's a journey. Lifelong.
Okay. Who inspires you the most?
Anybody who makes a big difference.
How do you measure your personal success?
Never arriving, always striving to do things better.
Excellent. What's your favorite book?
Oh, there's many. I read so many books.
Yes.
But a good one was The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Okay. All right. Need to check that on.
What legacy do you want to leave?
Just live a legacy. I don't want to leave any legacy, but I think it's being mad and making a difference to people and inspiring many more people to think the same way.
Excellent. If you weren't in business, what would you be doing?
Teaching.
Your proudest moment?
Every single day, but I think when we actually bought over Unilever and thinking that we cannot do it and a Kenyan cannot do it, that was a proud moment.
Excellent. Most crucial skill a leader must have?
Being adaptable, being willing to change all the time.
Okay.
I think your biggest inspiration, you said, maybe you can elaborate a little bit about it. Your biggest inspiration?
There'll be many. I think many inspirations when you see people who are right at the top level in terms of religion and see how humble they are. Number one. Number two, also sitting at Bill Gates' house and seeing how humble he is, and having a session with Warren Buffett there, and looking at things and saying, fine, these guys are simple and humble. Why not us?
Excellent. I'm gonna throw in a very, very different kind of question. Okay, if you were the only person on the planet who came to find out that God doesn't exist, would you pass the message on to the rest of the people or keep it to yourself?
You want my personal opinion?
Personal opinion.
I think God exists inside us. The definition of God is the problem. And the definition of God, if it's creator God right up there with a supercomputer, I think that doesn't exist. So I would actually proliferate this message to everyone that, look, he's inside you, you're part of God, and therefore be God.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you so much. Any parting thoughts?
No, I think you're doing a fantastic job here, and I think related to us is your SuperBrands too, and I think Radio 44. Keep up the inspirational work. Really, there's a lot more to be done. I think you should now widen your horizons to look at all Kenyans and making a difference to all Kenyans.
Absolutely. We will take your words into account and your suggestions. Thank you so much. This has been such an inspirational conversation. I know that a lot of our listeners are going to have a lot of food for thought. We definitely do. Thank you for sparing your time to come and join us and spending your last 2 hours with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hermina, and thank you, Jeet. Stay mad.
Yes, absolutely.